Every baseball fan dreams about catching a home run ball. For most people, it never happens. For one 10-year-old boy named Ethan Miller, that dream came true in the most unexpected way. But strangely, catching Shohei Ohtani's historic home run wasn't the most unforgettable part of his day. What happened 1 hour later would become a memory his father says he'll carry for the rest of his life. The Dodgers needed something special. For 9 straight games, Shohei Ohtani had gone without hitting a home run. It wasn't that he was struggling. Far from it. He was still reaching base. Still hitting the ball hard. Still forcing opposing pitchers to work carefully around him. But baseball has a funny way of making even the greatest players wait. Every game, fans wondered the same thing. Is today the day? That evening against the Mariners, Dodger Stadium was packed. More than 50,000 fans filled the seats, hopping to witness another unforgettable moment. Among them sat Ethan Miller and his father Daniel. For Daniel, this wasn't just another baseball game. It was a promise. Months earlier, he had told his son, "One day I'll take you to see Shohei Ohtani play." After saving money, checking schedules, and finally finding the perfect date, they made the trip from Pasadena. The goal wasn't to catch a baseball. It wasn't even to get an autograph. Daniel simply wanted his son to experience watching the game's biggest superstar in person. Sometimes, the simplest dreams become the most meaningful. As the first inning began, anticipation filled the stadium. Ohtani stepped into the batter's box. The crowd immediately came alive. Every camera pointed toward home plate. Every fan leaned forward. The pitcher delivered. Fastball. Strike one. The next pitch. Another fastball. Ohtani watched it carefully. The count evened. Then came the third pitch. The pitcher tried to sneak one over the plate. The instant Ohtani swung, everyone knew. Crack. That unmistakable sound echoed throughout the stadium. The baseball exploded off the bat at over 109 miles per hour. It soared high into the California sky. The center fielder turned, kept running, then stopped. He looked up. The baseball disappeared deep into the center field seats. Home run. Number 23. Just like that, Shohei Ohtani had ended his 9-game home run drought. Dodger Stadium erupted. Fans jumped to their feet. Strangers hugged each other. Children screamed with excitement. And somewhere in the middle of that celebration, a baseball bounced off a seat, rolled across a row, and stopped directly beneath Ethan's feet. For a second, he couldn't move. His father looked down. "So, what are you waiting for?" Ethan reached carefully toward the baseball. His hands trembled. When he finally picked it up, he stared at it in complete disbelief. "Dad, I think this is Ohtani's home run." Daniel smiled. "It sure looks like it." The two embraced as fans around them applauded. Several nearby spectators congratulated Ethan. One man even joked, "That's going to be worth a fortune someday." But Ethan barely heard him. He wasn't thinking about money. He wasn't thinking about collecting. He wasn't thinking about selling it. He just kept looking toward the field, watching Shohei Ohtani round the bases. As the game continued, Ethan never let go of the baseball. Between innings, he gently wiped a little dirt from its surface with the sleeve of his Dodgers jersey. Not because he wanted to clean it. Because he wanted to protect it. Daniel couldn't stop smiling. Seeing his son's excitement made the entire trip worthwhile. Whether the Dodgers won or lost no longer mattered. The day had already become unforgettable. At least, that's what Daniel believed. He had no idea Ethan had another plan. After the final out, fans slowly began leaving the stadium. People filed toward the exits. The noise faded. But Ethan stayed in his seat, still holding the baseball, still looking toward the field. Daniel finally asked, "Ready to go?" Ethan looked up. "Dad, can we stay a little longer?" Daniel smiled. "Why?" The boy held up the baseball. "I just want to tell Shohei thank you." Daniel paused. He looked at his son, then back toward the emptying stadium. He knew how unlikely that was. Major league players have interviews, recovery sessions, Team meetings. Medical treatment. Security. Hundreds of responsibilities after every game. The chances of meeting Ohtani were almost zero. But Daniel couldn't bring himself to say no. So they walked toward a stadium employee. Politely he asked, "Excuse me, I know this is a long shot, but is there any way someone could let Mr. Ohtani know my son caught his home run ball?" The employee smiled kindly. "I can't promise anything. The players have a very busy schedule after games." Daniel nodded. "I understand." The staff member looked at Ethan, who was quietly holding the baseball against his chest. Then he smiled again. "If you'd like, you're welcome to wait near the clubhouse. No guarantees. But sometimes miracles happen." Ethan's eyes lit up. Without hesitation, he nodded. "I'll wait. Even if it takes an hour." Neither Ethan nor his father knew that the longest hour of their lives was about to lead to a moment neither of them would ever forget. The stadium was almost empty. The roar of thousands of fans had disappeared. The lights that once illuminated the field now felt quieter. Most people had already gone home, carrying memories of the game. But near the Dodgers clubhouse entrance, one young fan remained. 10-year-old Ethan Miller stood patiently with a baseball in his hands. Shohei Ohtani's home run ball. The same ball that had traveled hundreds of feet through the night sky. The same ball that had created one of the loudest moments of the game. But to Ethan, it was not just a baseball. It was a chance. A chance to say two simple words. "Thank you." Daniel watched his son waiting. At first he thought Ethan might get tired. A few minutes would pass. Then 15 minutes. Then 30. But Ethan never complained. He didn't ask to leave. He didn't become impatient. He simply stood there, carefully holding the ball. Every few minutes he looked toward the clubhouse door. Maybe Shohei would appear. Maybe he wouldn't. But Ethan wanted to try. And for Daniel, that was the moment he realized this wasn't really about the autograph. It was about what Ohtani represented to his son. For many young fans, athletes are more than just players. They are examples. They represent dreams. Hard work. Dedication. The idea that someone can become great while staying humble. That was what Ethan admired about Ohtani. He knew the statistics. He knew about the home runs. He knew about the pitching. But what impressed him most was something different. Every time he watched interviews, he noticed the same thing. Ohtani always thanked others. His teammates. His coaches. The fans. The people behind the scenes. To Ethan, that made him special. And that was why the boy wanted to personally thank him. Inside the clubhouse, Shohei Ohtani was finishing his post-game responsibilities. The game had been physically demanding. The excitement of the home run was already fading. Now came the normal routine. Meetings. Recovery. Treatment. Preparation for the next game. This was the part fans rarely see. The work after the spotlight disappears. But outside the clubhouse, someone was still waiting. Someone who had been holding onto a baseball for almost an hour. Nearly 60 minutes had passed. Daniel looked at his son. "Are you okay?" Ethan nodded. "Yeah. I'm just hoping he comes out." Daniel smiled. "You know he might be busy, right?" "I know. He might not be able to stop." "I know." The answer surprised Daniel. Because Ethan understood. He wasn't demanding anything. He wasn't expecting anything. He just wanted the opportunity. Then suddenly, a staff member walked toward them. For a moment Ethan froze. The staff member smiled. "Are you Ethan?" The boy nodded. "Yes. Come with me." Daniel looked at his son. Neither of them said anything. They simply followed. Their hearts beating faster with every step. The hallway near the clubhouse was quiet. The sounds of the stadium were gone. No crowd. No cameras. No reporters. Just a normal hallway after a baseball game. And then, a door opened. Shohei Ohtani appeared. Ethan immediately stood straight. For a moment, the young fan who had been so confident suddenly became nervous. Because the person standing in front of him wasn't just a baseball player. It was his hero. Ohtani looked at Ethan and smiled. But instead of immediately reaching for the baseball, he did something unexpected. He walked closer. Then he lowered himself. He knelt down. Now they were at the same eye level. "What's your name?" "Ethan." "Shohei, nice to meet you." Ethan smiled. He could barely believe what was happening. Ohtani looked at the baseball. Then he looked back at Ethan. A staff member explained, "This is the young fan who caught your home run ball. He waited almost an hour because he wanted to thank you personally." Ohtani's expression changed. Not because he was surprised by the baseball, but because he was surprised by Ethan's patience. "You waited that long?" Ethan nodded. "I wanted to say thank you." Ohtani smiled. "Thank you for catching it." That simple response meant everything. Because Ethan wasn't treated like another fan asking for an autograph. He wasn't rushed. He wasn't ignored. For those few minutes, Shohei Ohtani gave him his complete attention. Ohtani carefully took the baseball. He looked at it for a moment. The same baseball that had left his bat at 109.1 miles per hour. The same baseball that represented his 23rd home run of the season. Then he pulled out a marker. He signed the ball. But he didn't stop there. He looked at Ethan. "How do you spell your name?" "Ethan." Ohtani carefully wrote. "To Ethan." Then his signature. A personalized message on a historic home run ball. Daniel stood nearby watching. And that was when the emotion hit him. Because he realized something. The most valuable thing his son received that night was not the signature. It was the moment. The patience. The kindness. The fact that one of the biggest athletes in the world took time after a long game to make a child feel important. Daniel had seen his son excited before. But he had never seen him this happy. Then Ohtani handed the baseball back. He looked at Ethan and said, "Take good care of it. This is your memory." Ethan held the ball carefully. Almost like it was something priceless. Because to him, it was. But the moment wasn't over yet. Before Ethan and Daniel left, Ohtani asked one more question. "Did you enjoy the game?" Ethan smiled. "Yes." "What was your favorite part?" The boy looked down at the baseball. Then back at Ohtani. "When you hit the home run." Ohtani laughed softly. "Me too." Everyone nearby smiled. Because for a few seconds, the superstar disappeared. The MVP disappeared. The record-breaking athlete disappeared. There was only Shohei, talking to a young baseball fan. And for Daniel, that was the moment he would never forget. Because his son didn't just catch a home run ball that night. He experienced the kind of kindness that cannot be measured by statistics. But the story was not finished. Because after they walked away, Daniel realized something even more powerful. His son would remember this day forever. Not because of where the ball landed. Not because of the distance it traveled. But because of what happened after. The next morning, Ethan woke up and immediately looked toward the baseball sitting safely on his desk. To him, it was no longer just a home run ball. It was a reminder of a moment when a baseball superstar stopped everything just to talk to him. His father, Daniel, later admitted that the experience changed the way he viewed athletes. Like many fans, he had always admired Ohtani because of his unbelievable talent. The home runs, the pitching, the awards, the records. But after that night, Daniel realized something important. The most impressive thing about Shohei Ohtani was not always what happened when thousands of fans were watching. Sometimes it was what happened when almost nobody was. Because Ohtani could have easily signed the ball quickly and continued walking. Nobody would have blamed him. He had just finished a demanding game. He had treatment waiting. The team had another game coming. But instead of seeing Ethan as another fan in a long line of people asking for an autograph, he saw a young baseball fan who had spent an hour waiting for a chance to say thank you. And that small decision made all the difference. For Ethan, the moment became something he would carry forever. Years later, he might forget the exact score of the game. He might forget the inning when Ohtani hit the home run. He might even forget some of the details of the play. But he would never forget the feeling of standing in that hallway and watching one of baseball's biggest stars kneel down and speak to him like an old friend. That is the side of Shohei Ohtani that teammates and fans often talk about. The side that doesn't appear in box scores. The side that cannot be measured by statistics. Because baseball can record a 109.1 mph exit velocity. It can record a 432-foot home run. It can record another milestone added to an already historic career. But it cannot record a smile. It cannot record a young fan's excitement. It cannot record a father trying to hold back tears because his child just experienced something unforgettable. And that may be why stories like Ethan's become so powerful. Millions of people have seen Ohtani hit home runs. Millions have watched him dominate on the field. But moments like this show why so many people respect him away from the game. Because true greatness is not only about being the best player. It is also about how you make people feel. The home run that night went into the record books. But the few minutes Ohtani spent with Ethan created something even more valuable. A memory. A memory that a young fan and his father will carry for the rest of their lives. And perhaps that is the biggest lesson from Shohei Ohtani's career. The greatest moments are not always the ones shown on the scoreboard. Sometimes they happen quietly. In a hallway after the game. When a superstar stops walking, looks a young fan in the eyes, and reminds everyone that behind the records, behind the trophies, and behind the fame, there is still a person who understands the power of a simple act of kindness. Because years from now, people will remember Shohei Ohtani for his home runs. They will remember his championships. They will remember the impossible things he accomplished on a baseball field. But Ethan Miller and his father will remember something different. They will remember the night a baseball came flying into the stands. And the player who hit it came back to make sure the moment became unforgettable.